Hi guys, Linda here from Create Your Future. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that we do have a free course on how to uncover your blocks and how to manifest fast, and that will be found in the description box below, along with info if you would like to have coaching with yours truly. I would love to help. So this is a success story. So I had one of my clients 4 days later, 4 days after our coaching call, have success. So her situation was basically she had a story and beliefs about something that she absolutely thought was not going to be changed. She actually absolutely thought was impossible. It was involving, family and finances. And basically, we uncovered her blocks and uncovered the stories that she was holding about this particular desire and situation. So in our call, we discussed what her fears were, her stories were, her assumptions, her thoughts. And just in talking to her and her saying, well, I think this might happen and this usually happens to me and I'm afraid that this might happen, that is how we were able to uncover her blocks and desires and her blocks regarding her desires. So we came up with a plan and we came up with the new story. And every time she had an old thought or a fearful thought or an assumption of the unfavorable story, I reminded her when that happens, you want to catch it and you want to intercept. What I like to do is some people say, just flip it, just flip it. It's not about just flipping it, because if I say something like, I'm not going to get the job, I'm going to get the job. I'm not going to get the job, I'm going to get the job. For some people, that might keep you in this cycle of like one step forward, two steps back, kind of like a hamster wheel, instead of like breaking through and really changing that story and that thought so that the favorable story can stick and reflect back to you. So what I recommended for her to do, what we discussed doing, and what I like to do with myself and what I always suggest is, let's say we do use the example of getting a job. You apply for a job and you're fearful that you're not going to get it, and there's a waiting period of, we'll get back to you in 2 weeks. So the whole 2 weeks you're worried and fearing and thinking about, am I going to get the job, am I not going to get the job? There's a lot of time during that interview and getting the call where the stories can go up and down, flip and flop, and we're human. It's normal. You're going to have doubts, you're going to have fears, you're going to have the what ifs. However, if I apply for a job and I'm worried that I might not get the job, when I get that thought, the first thing I'm going to say is, no, that's not me. That's the old me. I'm not worried about not getting the job. I'm going to get the job because, and I like to go into self-concept, I'm amazing. I did awesome at the interview. I'm super experienced and intelligent. They love me. I'm magnetic. I always get what I want. And you're going to change or flip that story because obviously you want to think the favorable thoughts and assumptions and stories more dominant until they harden into fact. However, what I like to add to it is, why am I still thinking that I might not get the job? Okay, I'm still worried that I'm not good enough. I still have a story that they're looking for someone with more experience. I still have a story that they're looking for someone that has more expertise and all that. So then I'm going to challenge it and say, okay, well, I am good enough and circumstances don't matter. And, maybe they want someone with my experience. Maybe they don't mind if you're older, younger, experienced or not, because they're going to train me anyways. I just like to do things like that to be aware of that thought that's still coming in, why it's still coming in, and where it's coming from, so that I can change that story internally on a deeper level of feeling wanted, of feeling chosen, of feeling worthy, of feeling good enough for that job. So that eventually that thought is not the dominant thought, and that's not where my mind is going to go to by default on autopilot in fear of not getting that job position. So that's how I deal with any negative thoughts that comes in, whether it's regarding NSP, a job, money, a lottery, weight loss. When a fear comes in, absolutely, I'd like to acknowledge it. I address it and I tell the new story. I challenge that old thought. But again, I like to go within to see where it's still coming from, because that's how I know that I'm doing the work and that I'm actually changing my assumptions, my stories, and that I'm actually overriding the old thoughts. Because what the hope is, that the intention is that the longer you work on your self-concept and the new story and catch and be aware of those unfavorable stories that are creeping in and noticing them more often, then the faster and more often we can change that story and tell the new story until that becomes more dominant. Then by default, when your mind is, distracted, or when you're just kind of thinking about that desire, like that job or SP, the intention is that your mind will on autopilot go towards the favorable story and the favorable thought more often than going to that fearful assumption first and more often. So basically, with law of assumption, it's what you assume to be true, what you fear, assume, think, desire, dwell on, believe more dominantly is what's going to reflect. So it's not necessarily, oh my gosh, I had a negative thought, I'm not going to get my desire. Oh my gosh, I'm doubting it, I'm not going to get my desire. It's not that. Now that we're consciously manifesting, we're going to be more aware of where our thoughts are going, negative and positive. We're going to catch those thoughts, observe them and say, I'm still having this thought because I'm still feeling not worthy or chosen. And then I'm going to change that story. I am chosen. I am worthy. I got called for the job. They're calling me any minute. I got that job. I got the money that I wanted. Everything's working out for me. And once that becomes more dominant, it reflects back to that. It has no choice. That's the way law of assumption works. So I hope this helps you be more aware of your thoughts. I hope this helps you not to fear those negative thoughts. I hope this also helps you not to blame yourself when you have a negative thought. It's just to increase awareness that you are having an unfavorable story, to catch it, to observe and realize what old story you're still holding on to so that you can release it and just replace it with the new story. Replace everything with the new story, the new thought, the new assumption more dominantly, and it'll happen. Look what happened with my client. 4 days later, she literally sent an email back to Create Your Future to say that literally within 4 days, practicing what we discussed, practicing our new plan, she sent in an email. It's actually posted on our pages of her success story 4 days later. So if you stick to the new routine, if you stick to the technique, whatever technique you use, and if you stick to the favorable story dominantly and consistently, and keep an eye on how often you're wavering, then guess what? You will be able to manifest your desire just as fast. So if you'd like coaching with me, check my info in the description box below. And until next time, ciao, ciao. We'll talk soon. Bye.